It was the fact that I didn't think a woman was physically capable of playing in the NFL.
Is that like
And that's when she took to her high horse and tried to settle that argument. Like I said, if a woman wants to play in the NFL, she better be in the top 1% of all football players.
What the fuck are we even talking about this right now? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like 2 years old.
How are you? What's going on?
I tell you what, man, my life's going pretty good, man. I've had some good things. Actually, I freaking finally got a job up here. Working. You ever hear of Westminster College?
Yes.
They're NAIA as far as football. They actually used to be like a powerhouse back in like the 80s and early 90s back in the day. But I got a job working second shift building maintenance.
Sweet, man.
I actually go tomorrow to sign
tell you
all
what,
the W-2s
I have done everything I can to resist from getting into the building maintenance gig, particularly because I'm a plumber. And been around a lot of building maintenance guys, and that is one of the best fucking gigs you could possibly imagine if you know how to work it right.
Well, my friend, I mean, I grew up with her since I was like 10, 11 years old. Well, she works there in the cafeteria.
See, you hate women, but a woman just got you a job. This is such a full
circle. Dude, I don't. Where the fuck are you getting that I hate women? No, here's the thing. Women, listen, they bitch about feminism and they want to be treated equal. Well, guess what? That's what I'm going to do. Because I know deep down they don't like it. So that's their fucking
breaking news. Chris Scully just said on air that he would hit a woman. Justin Pike, what is your thoughts? Justin Pike, your thoughts on what
I never fucking said that.
Chris, you've had your chance to speak. We've got to let Justin Pike, President Justin Pike, what's up?
What's up, Prez?
Not much. Just sitting here. I got a 2-team parlay in baseball tonight. I got the under in the Milwaukee Brewers and the Cardinals. And then I got the O's straight up against the Nationals, and it's looking good.
How are you in betting season right now?
I'm sorry?
I never bet on baseball. I did football, obviously, and I did hockey and a lot of college basketball, but I never was keen on betting baseball.
Yeah?
I mean, I know how it works, but I don't know. I just was never into getting betting it. Because baseball, man, I mean, you play 160 some games a year. I mean, dude, it's hard to tell who's going to win a game. I don't know.
Well, that's when you want to jump in and figure out who's pitching and all that.
You have to really be a student
follow
in the
that.
game. Yeah.
You got to follow that close, man, if you want to be successful in betting that sport.
Yeah.
I used to bet the horses too. Oh, I used to love betting the horses.
The horses are fun.
So before we jump into Auburn or anything like that, Justin, update everybody on Uncle Lou.
So yeah, I heard that Uncle Lou I think it was September the 8th or whatnot. He apparently he was drinking and driving, and he got pulled over, and from what I heard,
that is a very common occurrence in America these days too. I might add before we go any further in this conversation.
But he started running, is what they said.
You can't do that. Baker Mayfield,
right? But he started running while he was operating the vehicle drunk. So it's his 5th DWI, and it's the 3rd one in the state of Georgia. See, I used to talk to Lou. I love Lou. But he told me he don't drink no more because we talked about it. So I guess, I don't know. And there's like some sick people on the internet because like he trolls everybody. He's got a lot of enemies.
He's got a lot of haters, yes.
He's got a lot of people that makes him mad. So like there's people that will like Google his name, go find out and like shit about him.
Well, you know how it happened. He didn't do a video for like 3 or 4 days. And that's very un-Lou like.
Very.
And I'm guessing somebody just tracked him down. Like, it's just sick. People are sick.
Well, and I'm gonna jump in here because I have a little bit of experience in this arena. I too, at one point in time in my life, not very long ago, had a raging alcohol problem, and that is a really tough spot to be in, particularly when. And look, you're talking to somebody when I just heard you kind of break down the story, and he said he wasn't drinking anymore, and then this pops up, and apparently this is his fifth. I mean, it sounds like the guy's really struggling. It sounds like he's got a problem.
Yeah, and maybe the thing might have got to him a little bit.
And look, I'm not, and I'm not saying that, well, we should feel sorry for him, or we should, well, screw that guy, he needs to get over it, or this, that, and the other. He genuinely needs some help with this, and I really, any kind of negative talk my way is going to get swatted away really quick about this. Because Lou is definitely a friend of the show. He's been on a couple times, which was very gracious because he has a much larger audience than we do. And we were very humbled just to have him on. I had a great time with him. Tim Bailey had a great time with him too. That's a funny segment. If you go back and look in our YouTube archives, and
hey, shout out to Tim Bailey. I love Timothy Ray Bailey.
Again, another friend of the show. Been here since day one, or close to day one.
Sean Devine was the very first guest we ever had. I think Sean Devine and Sean Bergoven.
Yeah, Barty Sean.
Yep. But anyway.
I don't know if I showed it to Justin, but Chris, I'm going to show you a picture here in a minute. I'll share it in the chat of what I did to myself today. I split my.
Well, they said about Lou, he's in jail right now. He's in jail right now, and they gave him no bond.
Oh, he must have a felony DUI.
Well, I mean, with some of the other things that they have tacked on with it, he's he even attempted. I can't. There's a really weird charge that I actually had to Google that was involved in that as well. Dragging, yes. Yeah. Dragging apparently is when you do the donuts. So apparently he did some donuts in front of the cop. That's probably what he did when he first started.
I mean, I ain't laughing,
his descent away from the accent from. Yeah, if you're going to go the full night. I mean, the balls. Look, the balls that it took to do that were definitely supplied to him by alcohol. I promise you that.
Oh yeah, he had to be like blackout or something.
Yeah, man, I feel for the dude, man, and that's a really shitty place to be in. We as a show offer him all the support and love we possibly can, and anything we can do to be of any kind of help or any kind of service, man, because that's a really, really tough place to be in. He's sick right now, man. He needs help.
Does he live in Augusta?
Oh, dude, getting over alcohol can kill you.
Absolutely, it can, and it is a really, really serious.
Well, some jails, man, they'll give you drugs, in there to, you know what I mean, like help you, with your withdrawals. Because I remember Nashville jail. If you went in and told them you were an alcoholic, they gave you a medicine, and dude, all you did was sleep. So
all we can hope at this point, if he's still in jail, is that everybody he interacts with is a Georgia fan. That's it. Because if they're not, he's in some serious trouble.
But dude, the craziest story I ever heard in jail was a guy told me straight up that he was smoking crack in front of his county sheriff's station until they finally saw him. Then he took chase, and he took those police across 2 counties. I said, dude, you actually was smoking crack in front of the fucking sheriff's station. He was like, yeah. I was like, no shit, you're fucking in here. That's the most stupidest thing I ever heard.
Well, I mean,
why would you smoke crack in front of police
is kind of stupid in and of itself.
Oh, yeah.
Just to smoke crack, which, look, full disclosure, Lord knows I've had my season in the sun with just about everything that you cannot shoot into your veins, put it that way.
Yeah.
James Brown did something similar to what you were just talking about, Chris. He did. It's a true story.
Hello, this is viral TikTok King and Justin Brindley. You're watching Smacking Off the Podcast with Doug and Shannon.
Shark is America's #1 vacuum. Find yours today at our website at smackology.42web. and click affiliates at the top of the page.
So before we talk Auburn and Penn State, let's talk about what happened this fucking weekend.
Oh, like what?
I mean, there was
Alabama pulling a mouse fart out on that W. They went with a mouse fart. Dude, Alabama shouldn't have won that game.
That's ridiculous. We're talking about the Auburn Penn State game. You're talking about
okay,
you're talking about a game that Alabama won. So, you know,
Bama got
whatever.
lucky.
I mean, we can do that if you want to.
Or are you talking about Notre Dame losing to Marshall?
Whatever. Teams get lucky. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck on your march yet again to the national
I'm just saying, Bama's not as good. They're not the national championship favorite anymore. I tell you that.
I tell you what, I think Alabama got exposed.
I like Alabama better as a dark horse. I'll just put it to you that way.
I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, though. It's better to be the hunter than the hunted. So Alabama can relax a little bit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're not.
And they can
everybody's not trying to beat them
in the win column. I'm having a hard time getting upset about it. That was a really good Texas defense.
I mean, you might go undefeated.
And I'm really interested to see what Texas is able to pull off throughout the season because they look great.
So real quick, Easterwood pulling in on this, but I literally cannot get him on this call. He's in the chat. He's in the chat. He says he does not see the chat. I've tagged him like 5 times. Does not see it.
Trolling?
No? You pulled out all the stops, huh?
No.
Can't get him.
He keeps trying to call me from his. He keeps trying to call me from his regular account, and I'm trying to explain to him.
All right, let's talk some Auburn, Penn State. Personally, this game can go either one of 2 ways. Penn State and Auburn is going to keep it close up until half, and then Penn State will pull away. I say they win 38-13.
Ooh.
Or now listen, or Penn State can misfire. You know, if Auburn can stop Penn State's multiple attack, because they're pretty balanced pass and rush wise, and or they can keep this game in a low scoring close game, and they can eke it out. I think that it's going to go one of the 2 ways.
So I'm going to say
Auburn would win like something like 17-14.
Okay, so I'm not here to take up for Auburn. I hate fucking Auburn, but I'm going to tell you this: they don't get blown out at Jordan Hare very often. Tell them about Jordan Hare Stadium, Shannon.
I heard it was a nightmare. I did hear that already.
Every once in a while, let's just say the hot water goes out in the showers for the visitors' locker room. It's so strange. It doesn't happen throughout anywhere else in the facility except for the visitors' locker room for the visit that they're there. It'll get fixed. It's just you can't call a plumber if it's game day. You know, you can't get a plumber. It's expensive to get a plumber on game day. So, you got to wait
right about that.
Get them out there. But we'll get it fixed on Monday. Don't worry about it. We'll have a good game, guys. Just take a quick shower. Just rinse off a little bit. You're not going to get that sweaty. You're
just wait till you get back to the hotel.
Yeah. That's one of many of the little petty ass tricks. That's why I really enjoyed, yet I didn't enjoy what Texas attempted to do with Alabama's $1 million band, which stayed home for this game.
I didn't know that.
Very rare occurrence. Yes, they did. There was a discrepancy in where the band would be seated, which was not where they would normally be seated, which is down close to the field to support their team, or even somewhere close in and around the field, down toward at the field level. No, they wanted to put them in the extreme upper deck, and I mean way like 4,000 feet up in the air in this little tiny sliver of a section that would not seat the entire band.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that's the level of petty that exists at Jordan Hare, particularly when a huge game with anything on the line. Certainly not with either of the opponents that Auburn's already faced, Mercer and San Jose State, which I really don't feel like we learned much about Auburn maybe that San Jose State game was a little bit of a very, very, very.
And guess what's the sugar on top? Hey, guess what's the sugar on top? Coach Franklin has never coached a game at Auburn. Even though he coached at Vandy, he never played Auburn at Auburn.
Yeah.
So that kind of works in Auburn's favor. Because I tell you what, James Franklin had like 37 away games, okay? His record on away games is something like 18-17. So his away record is, I mean, it's a little bit above 500. But if you have here's the thing. I don't know why I saw that Auburn was actually predicted to finish dead last in their division. And Penn State is, arguably in the best division of football. They were picked like 4th. So I'm thinking, man, I don't get it. Why is Auburn such a bigger? I think it's being played as a bigger game than what it should be. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's 2 big programs in college football, but I don't know. But I just think Penn State has the better team. They actually have a better team than they did last year, and they beat Auburn last year. I mean, it was by 8 points, but still, it's 2 scores. Well, it's 1 score. Huh?
That was in Happy Valley, though. Auburn's not.
That was in Happy Valley.
Auburn's not the same team on the road. That's been an Auburn thing for a while. Sorry.
I think it's going to be a very interesting game to watch. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. Probably one of the better games Saturday.
Justin, what do you think about this game? I know you're not betting on this one, are you?
I'm not betting on this one, though.
But if you were,
I'd probably take Auburn being home.
You take Auburn
+3?
Yeah.
Do you think Auburn's got a good chance to win straight up?
Yeah, I do.
I think they have a chance to beat us straight up. I'm not ever going to say we're going to lose.
If they win, that spread's not going to really matter.
You're probably right, Justin. I would have to agree with that.
Yeah. I don't want to pick Auburn, but at Jordan Hare, if I were pinned down on it, I would pick Auburn.
And I kind of like Auburn because they always sneak up and beat Alabama once every couple of years, and it's funny. So I like Auburn.
I do know Alabama does have a harder time in that stadium than anywhere else. So I have to agree. I mean, look, we went to Purdue and everybody picked Purdue. About 80% of people picked Purdue to beat Penn State. Well, we overcame. We walked out of there with the W. Can we do it against Auburn? Yeah, the fuck we can.
Hey, hold on.
But I know Auburn's going to be tough. They're not going to be some team that's going to lay down. They're going to fight.
Didn't Auburn play Purdue in a bowl recently?
They played 10.
I'm pretty sure.
What are you talking about?
I'm pretty sure Auburn beat the fuck out of Purdue in a ball game in the last 5 years.
You're probably right.
Just a tidbit.
Now, I'll tell you what, I was at the Music City Bowl when Auburn played Minnesota, and Auburn won. I went to that ball game. I actually, a friend of mine, he's kind of like high up in the, in the city government, and he got an extra ticket to the Music City Bowl. Oh God, that was years ago, and Auburn was playing Minnesota.
Well, Auburn.
I'm Big Ten, so I rooted for Minnesota, but Auburn won that game, and it was a close game.
That must have been a long time ago because they played Minnesota in one of the Florida Bowls recently, and Minnesota beat them.
Yeah, that's right. But Purdue beat Tennessee last year in the bowl game.
Everybody beats Tennessee, don't they? Just
not this year. Not this year's Vols. Not this year. They're back. They're back.
Breaking news: the Vols are going undefeated this year, according to
the Vols are back.
Real quick.
No,
I hate the Vols. I lived in Nashville, and when the Vols were good, that's all you fucking heard 24/7 is just how good the Vols are. And I hated them. I was like, I hated the fucking Tennessee Volunteers. When Penn State, the last time Penn State beat Tennessee in the Outback Bowl, I was walking down the fucking street and I had my Penn State sweatshirt on. This car pulls right up next to me, throws a fucking empty can of beer at me, tells me to go fuck myself and takes off. I was like, wow. Yeah, and he had like a Tennessee Vols fucking couple bumper stickers and shit. I was like, damn, dude, it's only a football game.
Well, at least it was a empty can and not a full can.
Hi, this is Kyle Golick, and I'm standing in the middle of SEC country. We're over here, Big Ten country here. Where do I stand? SEC, Big Ten, SEC, Big Ten. You're listening to the Smacking Off the podcast.
Mint Mobile, where overpaying is just not going to happen. Go to our affiliate links for more information. Find our affiliate link at smackology.42web.io and click affiliates at the top of the page. Listen to Smacking Off the podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Also check us out on the Podbean app, Player FM, and Podchaser.
All right, listen, I'm gonna tell you this. When you watch Penn State Saturday, there's one name that's gonna stick out. It's Joey Porter Jr. I'm predicting by the end of this season, not only what is the best defensive back award? The Blitnikoff, right? Is it the Blitnikoff? As the best defensive back in the nation at the end of the year?
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, he won the Blitnikoff Award Player of the Week against Purdue. Well, you didn't see him too much against Ohio because once we went up, our second stringers were going in. I mean, we got Auburn next week, might as well rest them up. Don't let them get hurt, right? So I'm predicting by the end of this season, he will not only win the Blitnikoff, but if he decides to go into the NFL, he will be the first defensive back picked in the first round. And look who his dad is. His dad's Joey Porter. He was a great linebacker for Pittsburgh. I mean, him and Kevin Green, they were a tough duo for the Steelers. So and you know what? If you look at him, he is like a strong side safety size playing corner. Against Purdue, he dropped, I think it was the second pass Purdue made. He dropped, dude, if he would have picked it off, he was gone. So he actually dropped a pick six. And he had like 6 pass breakups against Purdue. And Purdue is a passing team. That quarterback was like 70% accuracy, the season before. So I'm telling you, if there's going to be a name that's going to stick out in this game, it's going to be on both sides. It's going to be Joey Porter Jr. The only thing I can say is Auburn's pass attack up against probably a top 5 secondary as a unit in the nation, that's going to work to Penn State's benefit. But we're young in the middle between the tackles. So if Auburn can get that strong running game and just march down the field and control the clock, that'll give them a better chance. It's all what happens like there. But as far as Penn State's offense, we finally listen to this stat. In the last 28 games, Penn State did not have a running back rush for 3 40-plus yard runs. Because Nick Singleton, his first run was like 72 yards. His second one was for like 60. And I think his third one was for like 47, 48. So, he's a bust-out player. But James Franklin is going to stay to that same kind of running back rotation that he's been doing. So you're not going to see Nick Singleton a lot. I mean, I think you'll see him probably more than but you're going to see other running backs come in too. So that's definitely going to take, plays away from him. And Nick Singleton was the Big Ten Freshman Player of the Week last Saturday. So we do, in a sense, have a better overall team than Auburn.
You know what?
But Auburn's hard to beat at home. I'm gonna, I agree with you with that.
That's what I'm gonna tell you is that down in Jordan Hare Stadium, that shit don't mean a thing.
I'm with you on that.
Absolutely right. That is so right.
But to be fair, it's sometimes they lay an egg at home. It's just against y'all.
Look, sometimes Auburn can't put it together. And if there was an Auburn team that couldn't put it together, even if the game was slightly rigged with some fire hoses or some misplaced hot water hoses, that I'm sorry, there's a certain dark magic that resides in that place with that fan base, and when they're loud, and this is going to be a loud crowd.
Let me ask you,
this game ranked
how overall is Auburn fans? Are they assholes or are they all right?
Depends on where we're standing.
Right now, I'd have to say Eric Easterwood's an asshole. He can't even find a freaking chat for this.
Eric Easterwood has a very bad record on this show, just like Auburn.
Yep. So, real quick, let's get everybody to give an official prediction on this one so we can look back on it next week.
Okay, it's gonna be 24-17 Auburn.
All right, Shannon.
Ooh.
Shannon.
No, hang on. I'm thinking about this for a minute.
All right, I'll go. All right,
go ahead.
I'm gonna say 20-14 Auburn.
Ooh,
low scored.
Yep.
Fellas, I think we're dead wrong on this, and I actually think that Penn State's probably going to get closer to 30, and Auburn probably won't break 20. San Jose State is not a good team at all. Not a good team at all. Their only win that they have was against Weber State or something like that, and it was a close affair as well.
Y'all want to hear my lock of the week?
I don't see much out of this Auburn team.
Well, let Chris go on.
Hold on, Justin. Yeah, let me go over it. I'll tell you what. Officially, I'm going to say Penn State 27, Auburn 17.
Okay. Justin, what's your lock of the week?
Yeah, mine's Nevada.
-13 against Georgia Tech. Ole Miss at home -13 against Georgia Tech.
Oh, really? I actually took Georgia Tech. Listen to this. My lock of the week is Nevada. They're playing Iowa. Iowa has no fucking offense. Nevada has played 3 games and they average a score of 42 points. They're getting 23 and a half against Iowa. Iowa will win, but there's no way they cover that 23 and a half.
You know what?
No way.
I typically don't have a lock of the week, but I'm going to say my lock of the week is Louisiana Monroe plus 51 against Alabama. And I'm not even joking.
That's a true story.
Alabama gets the 40 points, and they're going to empty the benches, and they're not going to win by 51 points.
You know what? I said the same thing. I said, dude, that's why I asked you. I'm like, Dougie, why did you put this game on here? Because you're a Bama fan?
It's difficult. That's why. Bama's playing Louisiana Monroe.
Wow. Why do they play teams like that? I just don't understand.
Wait, no, we owe them one. They beat Saban in his first season.
They did.
Did they?
No, never forget. # never forget.
Yep.
What? That's right, they did. I forgot about that.
That happened, and that right there was probably one of the best things that ever happened to the Alabama program, because that game right there really turned it around.
Here's a little secret for you.
I'm dead serious,
Justin. It's not a great marquee game, but it is an FBS school. It's a lot better than playing Mercer or Furman or somebody like that.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, they can go to a bowl.
And again, there is some history behind this matchup.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And I'm going to say this: if we're going to talk about Louisiana teams, LSU is not the best team in Louisiana. I guarantee you, it ain't Monroe either. It's probably the Raging Cajuns.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But anyway, well, guys, I think we beat this Auburn Penn State horse to death, and there's really nothing else we can talk about. We've got locks of the week.
Yeah, we'll see Saturday.
Hotty toddy.
We are.
Talk to you.
I guess
go
War
you
Eagle.
guys later, man. Be cool.
Since I'm the Auburn representative, I'll go ahead and shout out a War Eagle to you real quick.
Hey, go Vols too. Go Vols. They got a big game this week.
Oh, hi. I'm Clemson Dean, and this is Smacking Off the Podcast.
It's like cocaine or something. I don't know. These motherfuckers just talk about college sports, specifically college football, and man, let me tell you, it's a hoot.
It's time for another delightful installment of Scully's Adventure.
All right, here we go. It was 2003. I had a bookie. Well, all season I was usually up. You know, a couple hundred here, 100 there, whatever. Okay, well, it's bowl week. I couldn't fucking buy a win to save my ass. Okay, it all started, I was betting just, 20, 50 bucks. Next thing you know, I'm betting hundreds and losing. Well, by the end of that week, I was down $4,000. Well, the very last game that I could bet before I had to pay up was the Miami versus Ohio State game. So I'm thinking, and I said, you know what? My ex-best friend, his dad was a bookie. That's what he did for a living. And he always told me, he said, Scully, don't ever bet with your heart, no matter what. So I called my bookie up and I said, hey man, what's the line on Ohio State Miami? He said Ohio State's getting 11. I said, look, I'll call you back in 15 minutes. I'm living with my girlfriend and her 2 daughters at the moment. I'm down $4,000. At the time I got hurt at work, I was collecting workman's comp. I was getting $888 a week in workman's comp check. I mean, every 2 weeks, I was getting $888. So I'm thinking to myself, look, I don't know what I'm going to do. If I tell my girlfriend that I'm down $4,000 and my next 4 fucking paychecks is going to pay the bookie, she'd have threw me out of the house right then and there. Well, anyways, so I go in the bedroom and I'm thinking, I said, you know what? Miami's a good team. They were flashy offense. I said, they're going to score points. But they never played a defense like Ohio State had. Plus, Claret, he had a breakout freshman year at running back. And I hate Ohio State with every fucking fiber of my being. Do I hate Ohio State? But like I said, don't bet with your heart. And I got to thinking, I said, you know what? If Miami's going to win, I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State by 11 points. So I called my bookie up. I said, dude, put $3,900 on Ohio State. he's like, Scully, you sure? He said, man, why don't you bet half and just, take your loss? I said, no. I won $3,900 on Ohio State. Well, but prior to calling in that bet, I swear on everything holy, I got down on my hands. I got down on my knees and I prayed. I said, look, God, if you can get me out of this jam, I promise you I will never bet or place a bet with a bookie again. But I told God the truth. I said, look, I might bet $5, $10, $20, maybe even $50 with a friend, but I will never call in a bet to a bookie again. Well, game starts. Tammy and the kids, I was yelling at them. I was a complete dickhead to all of them that night. And I actually kind of felt bad. But when the game went in overtime, I was like, there's no way I could lose. I was never so happy in my life. I tell you this, when I met up with my bookie the next day, that was like the happiest $100 I ever paid someone in my life. My bookie even said, like, Scully, what would you have done if you lost? I said, I don't know, maybe let you break my thumb or something, but I'd have made payments to you. He said, yeah. He said, $8,000. He said, yeah, we're gonna, maybe break your fingers or break your elbow or something. But as long as you paid. So my bookie was actually happy that I only lost $100 to him. Because he was like, Scully, man, I didn't want to have to hurt you or have to ride your ass about you paying me. But I've kept my word. I've never bet with a bookie ever again. And I do this with my friend every year. We've done it like the past 5 years. And it's friendly. And, $10 ain't really that much. So, that's my, I owe $4,000 to the bookie story.
Non più tra i farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno di torno girano, delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto a tuo giro d'amor. Delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto a tuo giro d'amor.
Welcome college football fans to another wonderful edition of Congratulations you lost and your team Sucky Sucky. With Timothy Bailey.
Man, there was a lot of teams that sucked this weekend.
What a weird weekend. It's like every time you thought, well, nothing else can happen, here comes another one.
Yeah, it was weird, and I think part of it is I think the parity of the sport's only getting stronger at the moment. Certainly the very elite teams, they are a little bit different than everybody else, but even they can succumb to quote-unquote lesser opponents. It's something that's really been a thing that's happened in college football quite frequently in the last few years and really throughout history. We had kind of gotten a preconceived concept that you're just supposed to blow everybody out, but that's not really how it works. Like, for example, I don't know, you've been watching football a long time, but in the 80s, if that Texas-Alabama game happened, everyone would just be congratulating Alabama on a tough win, right?
Absolutely, that's exactly. And nobody would have worried. The elite teams can pop up at any time. I'm sorry, the elite programs.
Yeah, so nobody would have been like angry at Alabama for struggling with Texas.
I've seen Alabama literally win 4 games, but play just about everybody off of their feet.
Yeah, no, and it's weird that we've gotten to this point where we think if you don't blow teams out, that you're just not a good team. That's just not reality. I think Alabama's made it look easy, and some of these Clemson teams have made it look easy, but that's not how it works. Like, college football is not played in a theoretical on a piece of paper, and it never has been. But I will say there are certain things that are acceptable and certain things that are unacceptable.
Spaghetti with red sauce.
Let's start with Jimbo Fisher. So Jimbo Fisher has a worse record than Kevin Sumlin did through the same amount of games right now. So that's something to note. But the biggest thing about this game is that you've built your program up to be so good, and you haven't proven it, but yet you continue to get top 10 rankings every season. This is the second season in a row where they ranked in the top 10, and there was really no reason. It's not like this was hard to see coming. Not necessarily a loss to App State, but that they're not a top 10 team. it was an easy thing to see coming. I think anybody that's really followed the sport agreed. But for some reason, everyone just feels the need to rank Texas A&M in the top 10, and I never understood it. I got made fun of for ranking A&M, I think, 18 or 20 in my initial poll and never having them up further.
Have you posted about that yet?
No, I think that people – I probably will at some point. But, I think people know how I feel about A&M. So I don't think, it's something that's necessary. But yeah, A&M being not as good. On paper, because they've had 4 straight top 10 classes, I definitely think it makes sense to rank them in your top 25, but they've got a lot to prove before you can put them in the top 10, top 5. You know what I mean? They were 4. Some people were voting them as high as number 4 in the AP poll last week. I mean, it's crazy stuff. And to top it off, not only did they lose to Appalachian State, let me tell you, it was not a close game. The game seems closer because of the score. That game was not close. Appalachian State dominated the line of scrimmage. They outgained them by nearly 3 times the yardage. Haynes King threw for less than 100 yards. And this is a team that was so bad on defense the week before that they scored 40 points in the fourth quarter and lost the football game.
Is that an all-time? I mean, has that ever even happened before?
I don't think so. I don't think anyone's scored 40 points in the fourth quarter and lost. I don't think that's ever happened. That's crazy, right?
What did they combine for in the fourth?
Well, UNC had a big lead going into it, and they basically, I think UNC just scored once or twice. I don't know what the exact total was, but they scored 40 in the fourth and lost the game.
I'm not sure that I've ever heard of anybody scoring 40 in the quarter.
I'm not sure either, but I know I think ESPN said somebody else had done it in the 70s and they won the game. But I mean, I don't know for sure. I didn't actually look close at it.
I'm thinking there had to be some turnovers or something.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was a crazy game. But yeah, Appalachian State, they're a respectable program. They were good in the FCS level, so good that they got lifted up into the FBS level, and they've been a very good Sun Belt team. So I have a lot of respect for that program, and I certainly didn't think it would be easy for A&M, but I certainly would have expected them with their talent to win. But it's just the way they lost, not necessarily that they got upset. This is college football. I just went over the fact that anything can happen on a Saturday, right?
Yep.
But this keeps happening to Jimbo Fisher. And to be quite frank, I mean, you look at their schedule ahead, and if they play the way they did on Saturday, there's no wins available until after October 8th. I mean, they're not beating Mississippi State playing like that. Certainly not beating Alabama. They're not winning this weekend if they play like that. And they're not beating Arkansas if they play like that. None of those are winnable games playing the way they did on Saturday. None of them.
And then Alabama's going to come in with a chip.
Yeah, that's already a problem. And so, and here's the thing. This is not just, I think they had a bad day. Even in their win, their opening week win, they didn't really look particularly great. They ended up winning, I think, 31-0, but it was kind of struggle-ish. And here's a crazy stat for you, Doug. Texas A&M has played in 2 football games. Do you know how many trips they've made it to the red zone this year?
How many?
1.
Jesus Christ.
This is a really bad football team on offense right now. And you have to be able to score to win in football now.
And we're talking about a team that the first game was Sam Houston, right?
Yeah. Sam Houston State, very good FCS program, by the way. But still, they scored mostly on defense stuff. There's some promising things about their defense, certainly, but their offense, they leave a lot to be desired.
Well, I think the thing that baffles me the most is that Jimbo Fisher's supposed to be a quarterback guru. Am I correct?
I mean, that's what the label was, but I mean, here's the reality of the situation. When he doesn't have a guy named Jameis Winston as his quarterback, he averages 4 losses a year. I understand that E.J. Manuel and Christian Ponder somehow were first-round picks under Jimbo Fisher, which is still a confusing thing to this day because neither of those guys had first-round talent, particularly Christian Ponder. He definitely didn't have first-round talent. That was crazy. And it's not like either of them put up great numbers. Here's another number for you. 2 seasons in the entire time that Jimbo Fisher's been a head coach, he's had 2 seasons where a quarterback has thrown for 25 touchdowns or more. Do you know who did that? You know which quarterbacks did that?
Well, I mean, I'm sure Jameis Winston's one of them.
Jameis Winston's one. What the other season was Jameis's sophomore season, where he threw 26.
Okay,
so Jameis is the only quarterback to throw for 25 touchdowns or more while being coached by Jimbo Fisher. I didn't go as far back to his LSU days and check out Jamarcus Russell's numbers. I wouldn't surprise me if they're not that good, considering he coached Jamarcus Russell in the early 2000s anyways.
No, I remember they weren't that good.
So to me, the question becomes, like, where are we coming up with this idea that Jimbo Fisher is a quarterback guru? Because to be quite honest, he had a sensational generational talent in Jameis Winston. I don't think people understand how difficult, and from a college perspective, but even in the NFL, Jameis Winston's a full-time starting quarterback again, and he looks pretty darn good doing it. And he went through the turmoil he went through, then had to sit down and then become a starting quarterback again. I don't know that people understand just how difficult and rare that is, particularly for an African-American quarterback. What he did was incredibly difficult to do. You have to be extraordinarily talented to be able to get that type of opportunity again.
Is he he's the only Saban pupil that has a national champion? No, sorry. Kirby does now.
Kirby does now.
But could it be that, just everybody looking for the next Saban, so they go to the protege that has the national championship? And
well, certainly,
of course his recruiting has been good. We know that.
Yes, I mean, by the way, last 4 cycles, the worst cycle, according to the 247 composite rankings, was the 7th ranked class. So this isn't a team that lacks talent that people wanted to get out of high school. That's not what this program is. Even though they are pretty young and their quarterback play is questionable, even though that was a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school.
It is baffling. It is baffling, though, the hype that he gets still, and with literally, like you said, just the Jameis Winston years under his belt.
Yeah, and again, he had some years where he had 10 wins and 12 wins without Jameis, but as a whole, he just hasn't been good. He's lost 4 games plus a year, typically. That's the norm. The Kellen Mond year. Kellen Mond was a senior, like a 5th-year senior, and he's not great, but certainly that version of Kellen Mond is better than 90% of the quarterback play he has under his tenure. So it's one of those things where Jameis needs or Jimbo needs a lot of help to be successful. He needs a very veteran team. He had elite coaches, by the way, that left his side this offseason. Mike Elko is now at Duke, and so far he's done a good job. Duke's 2-0. Mm-hmm. Then you had Hansen, their offensive line coach, one of the better ones in the country. He went ahead and headed west, and he is the offensive line coach for Lincoln Riley and USC. And then, Jerry Schmidt, first chance he got to go back to Norman, he was out of town. So, I mean, we're talking about other coaches would rather play. I mean, these are, other than Elko, who got a head coaching job, these other 2 guys got the same title to leave. Technically Hansen's listed as an offensive coordinator, but that's a token title. He's not obviously the offensive play caller.
Yep. So people are leaving for the same job.
Correct. That's not a good sign. If you believe, now that being said, being the strength and conditioning coach in Oklahoma compared to A&M, from a like historical perspective, and he also, Jerry Schmidt has a long history at OU, so it makes some sense, right? So you can make an excuse for that. But the Hansen move, I mean, Texas is a good place to live. Good taxes. You can make an
excuse for it, but here's the kicker. There is that how good Jimbo's been recruiting for this guy to walk out. Does he? I mean,
the facilities.
Do you want to walk out if you're going to have maybe one of the most talented teams of all time?
Yeah. I mean, and we're talking about a guy, Jerry Schmidt, who's been a strength and conditioning coach for several Heisman winners, going back to his time at Notre Dame. So, I mean, this is a really, really he's the best strength and conditioning coach in the country.
You almost have to believe that he doesn't believe that this is ever going to come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, you could also take the route if he just wanted to go back to Oklahoma, but at the same time, though, the way he and Riley butted heads and it ended, like, you would think that he would have some sort of ill will towards OU. He hasn't had that. So that's lucky for OU, because I will say I'm glad to have him back at OU as a Sooner fan. But yeah, it's definitely weird, especially considering the talent they're bringing in, the talent they're going to continue to bring in. And again, he had the best facilities in the country. Texas A&M and Oregon have the best facilities by far. Like Alabama's, Oklahoma's, none of those other programs have the facilities that A&M and Oregon do right now. They're the best. They're 1 and 2, and then everyone else has really good ones that are elite. A&M and Oregon, though, are on another level. So for you to be a strength coach, which utilizes that facility and want to leave,
yep,
yeah, you're probably right. There's probably something to it.
This is Dr. Balls, and you're listening to Smacking Off, the podcast.
Shark is America's #1 vacuum. Find yours today at our website at smackology.42web.io and click affiliates at the top of the page.
Mamma mia.
Marcus Freeman's going to have to take a seat on this list this week. You can't lose at home to Marshall. Can't happen. Not at the University of Notre Dame, not with the talent they have on their roster. You know, I said going into the weekend, and you can vouch because I talked about this in the group chat and in the group where I said, I think Marshall could give them some trouble for a while. And particularly because, when you have, and you've seen this for years and years in college football, when you have a letdown loss or even a big win over a really, really good opponent, especially on the road, that can be tough. And you'll show the signs of, the letdown or, whatnot going into the next week. And I expected Marshall to have, to do well. And so when the halftime score, I think, was like 13-9, I was like not panicking for Notre Dame. I was like, that makes sense to me. Right. It made sense to me. I really didn't freak out. I was like,
figure Notre Dame come out, take care of business in the second half. And
they'll get chewed out. They're like, they'll get a sloppy win and move on. Marshall's actually not a scrub team. They're a pretty decent, group of 5 teams. It's not like they're playing some sort of juvenile trash. It's not like they're playing somebody that sucks, like they're playing a decent group of 5 team who really wants to win at Notre Dame. Some of these kids probably wanted to go to Notre Dame, you know what I mean? So, but they end up losing the game, get a pick 6 in the fourth quarter, lose their quarterback for the year. Things aren't going well at Notre Dame so far. Now, I will say Brian Kelly started 1-3 at Notre Dame, and obviously we know his tenure at Notre Dame was pretty good. There are some questionable moments there and things that you feel he could probably do better. But it's the floor, the sky's not falling for Notre Dame. I will say I still believe in the direction of the program, but ultimately you're Notre Dame. You can't lose at home to Marshall, especially with the talented squad you have. This is not a rebuild situation. This team won 11 games last year. This is a good team. This is a good program. There's a lot of pieces in place. I will say he's going to have to make a hard decision. He's going to have to get rid of Tommy Rees at some point if he wants to elevate the program. And that may be difficult for him considering he inherited that job, and Tommy Rees has probably been a big supporter for him and a guy that he trusts. But it's probably something that's going to have to happen for him to take the next step, even if it's difficult. Because Tommy Rees is not quite ready to be an offensive coordinator. I think that he can be one day, but I think that it's too early in his cycle as a coach to be an offensive coordinator, and I think Brian Kelly gave him that title too early.
Yeah, and so Marcus Freeman's going to have to take care of that, or
very similar to Mike.
It's definitely
Mike
his responsibility.
Situation. Yeah, it's definitely kind of similar to the Mike Stoops situation with Lincoln. I think it was a little bit more, because obviously the guy who gave you the job, that's his brother. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So certainly a little bit more difficult, but a very similar situation, inheriting a really good program with a questionable assistant that you have to remove that, you trust and you work with and you have a relationship with. And it's not easy, but it's certainly a move he's going to have to make this offseason. Unless somehow through this year, Tommy Rees shows incredible growth, which is, not impossible, but certainly I would doubt very seriously.
2 games. You never know. I mean, I think you summed up what happened against Marshall. They just shouldn't have lost the game. They should have figured out a way to win the game. They didn't do that.
Right. If they didn't throw the pick 6, they probably win that game, to be honest.
You know how it is, though. Too much is made out of wins. Too much is made out of losses. Too much.
The sky is not falling for Notre Dame as a long haul for their program.
I don't think
I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame won the rest of their games. And yes, I know they have USC and Clemson on their schedule. It wouldn't completely shock me. They'll have a weird loss. They'll have a loss to Ohio State. And at the end of the year, 10 wins, 9 wins. You'd be feeling pretty good, right? I would think, because this schedule's loaded this year.
But then again, they lose to Cal this weekend. Oh, wow. That's really going to...
They also have BYU on the schedule, too, by the way. So this is a tough schedule. This is a very tough schedule this year for the Irish.
Lucky for Notre Dame, they don't have to go to Provo, though. That's Las Vegas.
They do not. There's a big difference between going to Provo. Las Vegas is a Mormon town, too. I don't know that a lot of people know that. Actually, they joke about Las Vegas. It's Mormon and, super Mormon and religious during the day and then crazy at night. That's what they call
Sin City / Mormon Central?
Dude. I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm Mormon, so I know this. Like, Las Vegas is insanely populated by Mormons. Like 50% or more of the people who are religious there are Mormon. I'm not even joking you. It's crazy. It's literally like damn near Utah and Nevada. I'm not even joking.
That's crazy because typically the Mormons would have more of an influence on their surroundings, but that's a big industry over there, and everybody gets paid.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then there's prostitution there too. So, one of those things, right?
Yeah, very lucrative. And that's government endorsed prostitution. They come in and check and make sure everybody's healthy and everything, don't they?
I don't know enough about it to know that much, but I do know.
I might have been watching too many movies, man.
Yeah, maybe. You're probably not wrong, though. I would imagine that.
No, there is definitely sanctioned prostitution over there.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I don't know the extent.
But yeah, Marcus Freeman, man, he had to find himself on the list this week. Guy, I have we've had good coaches on this list. Nick Saban's been on here before, so
Nick Saban's coming down close to being on this week.
Oh yeah, he did. Did you see him yell at his players for trying to do the horns down after the game?
I did.
I thought that was kind of comical. They're like, horns down. He's like, don't do that shit.
Tony Santos, how embarrassing.
Neil Brown is finding himself on this list an additional time.
Yep.
As they would say in Mexico, otra vez, because this time he lost to Kansas at home. So I will start with this. Kansas is a much improved program under Lance Leipold. It's something that we all expected. Lance Leipold will probably not be at Kansas a long time if he doesn't want to be.
If I'm not mistaken, they've scored like 111 points in 2 games.
Yeah, this Kansas team is not the Kansas team of your grandfather. It's not Mark Mangino's Kansas, okay? But it's a pretty good one. This team might win 6-7 games this year. It's very possible. They're certainly not the worst team in the Big 12. It was something I thought was possible, but I didn't want to pull the trigger on because, sometimes you got to see something to believe it, right? And winning in Morgantown's hard. And West Virginia's team is not a bottom barrel team. They're not horrible. They're not going to win a lot of games because there's a lot of good teams in the Big 12 this year. So they're probably not going to win a lot. And that means Neil Brown's probably not going to be there. But, yeah, you can't lose at home to Kansas still. At this point, that's still an unacceptable loss. And they also somehow got beat by double digits in overtime because they gave up a pick 6 to end that game.
That's what I seen that. That's what I figured it was a turnover.
So I had never actually seen that happen before. It's kind of hilarious, to be honest. And it's funny that Kansas is the team to do that. But, yeah, at the end of the day, listen, I didn't watch this game. I won't pretend. But I didn't watch it because I figured that, a double-digit lead for West Virginia was going to be enough to hold on against Kansas at home. It wasn't. They lost in overtime by double digits. Can't happen. And that's after blowing the game against Pitt. Because let's be real, Pitt should have lost that game to West Virginia. West Virginia played like the better team all game until 4 minutes to go in the game. They were averaging 7 yards per carry, and he chose to punt on fourth and a foot. Like, that shouldn't happen.
No, absolutely not.
So, I mean, Neil Brown, he's on the hot seat. He should be. Those boys in West Virginia, they will not wait. And even though I think Neil Brown is a good coach, he's clearly having trouble dealing with the pressures of being a Power 5 coach. And so he deserves to be on this list this week. And it really just is what it is. I mean, I don't really have much else to say other than that's just not good enough.
Here's 6 things that you can do to help support this podcast. Like, share and comment on our videos. Buy our merchandise. Use our affiliate web links to buy great products and services from our affiliates. And tell others about our podcast.